Louis loves Rachael. Rachael loves Louis, but she's not sure if he still loves her. Stephen the handsome widower loves Rachael on sight. Stephen and Rachael have an affair. What happens when Louis finds out? This plot will be familiar to all practitioners of suburban adultery. It will also be familiar to those students who, rather than taking their pleasure quickly on a kitchen table like Stephen and Rachael, have read Anna Karenina. It is also the plot of The Aftermath, a tasty muted mishmash of interior design, Nazi fetishism and war guilt, enlivened by that unacknowledged innovation of the World War II era, the Key Party. It's the winter of 1945. The victorious Allies have divided Germany into zones of occupation: American British, French, Russian, erogenous. Louis, Jason Clarke, is an officer in the British sector, in the ruins of Hamburg. Louis feels sorry for the Germans, for reasons that the script doesn't bother to explain. When his wife Rachael, Keira Knightley, joins him, they are billeted in the erogenous zone, a massive suburban villa with Stephen, Alexander Skarsgård, and his teenage daughter Frida, Flora Thiemann, insisted of expelling Stephen and Frida. Louis asks them to stay. The German victims of war move into the attic, while the British oppressors get the master bedroom. Stephen is a good German, and even better in bed. Still, to receive his certificate of denazification, he insists that he was never a party member. We believe him. By the looks of it, he spent most of the war in the gym, sculpting his abs. The villa was his wife's, her family owned shipyards. She was killed when the RAF bombed Hamburg. Stephen gives Louis a tongue lashing about this, and Louis, admitting his war guilt, accepts it. When Louis is called away to the Russian sector for a few days, Stephen gives Rachael a good tonguing too. The aftermath in this film's title is supposed to be the ruins of Europe's cities, but really, it's the sentimental ruins of our therapeutic culture. All the post-war elements are here, but this isn't the third man. Instead of the location acting on the characters or the plot, the characters act amid the location. The war is just window dressing, its nastiness a way of catching our attention in the occasional interludes when Keira Knightley is white-clothed. The dialogue is more wooden than the forests of Bavaria, and the characters' motivations are those of our time. If you've ever read the disheartening, heartless document that is a how-to guide to script writing, you'll know that the bare minimum for soap operatic character development is the placing of an obstacle in front of a character. As the character surmounts the obstacle, the plot is carried forward, and this development produces in the audience the psychological release that the old-time screenwriter Aristotle called catharsis. The Aftermath is adapted from a novel by a soap opera scriptwriter, Ridian Brooke. It is directed by a veteran perpetrator of low-grade television, James Kent. It would take a heart of stone and a head of cheese to apply the trivialities of light entertainment to people whose lives have been ruined by war, but Brooke and Kent pull it off. Their characters' obstacles are grief of the nastiest and most gratuitous kind. Rachael and Louis's 11-year-old son was killed by a German bomb. Stephen's wife, and Frida's mother, was killed by a British bomb. If you believe this makes Louis and Stephen are morally equivalent, Stephen has a labor camp in the East for you. Louis blames Rachael, and Rachael is angry because Louis was too busy at the office, too busy fighting the Germans. Frida is angry at Stephen, and Stephen is angry at both Louis and Rachael. Stephen is much hotter and posher than Louis, who is so stricken by war guilt that he has let his gym membership lapse. This is good for all concerned, because it allows all parties to surmount their obstacles, shoulder the plot, and stagger forward like they're in a boot camp for Oprah Winfrey's stormtroopers. The moral is, no loss is too great to surmount. It's a triumph of the will. Rachael first discovers her latent hotness when reclining on a Mies van der Rohe chair, a posturepedic symbol of Germany's super-Y blend of modernity and perversion. Stephen, being the proprietor of said Bauhaus seat, is already in touch with his perving hotness. It doesn't take long before he's all over Rachael's hotness too. When she runs away with Stephen, war criminal Louis accepts the gift of cuckoldry, falls to his knees, and sobs a